When I was growing up here at Sibayik, I spent my childhood here and now my adulthood. And we used to live right by the railroad tracks along the Passamaquoddy Bay here. And we used to go down the shore and play, and sometimes we would dig clams or wrinkles and cook them. I remember when I used to go fishing over by Split Rock, and I would catch flounder. The fish and the shellfish were very plentiful, and our diet was subsidized by what we fished out of the river. And the people used to have their canoes or boat along the river, and they would go fishing at will. And they got poppers, and we had a poppers, a man who did the porpoise hunting regularly, and he would bring the porpoise ashore and cut it up, and the people would see or know when he's coming, and they would go down with a pot so he could put pieces of the porpoise in each pot, and people would carry it home to cook it. And that was a treat. They used to be plentiful, but as time went on, the fish got scarce. Like today, I couldn't go to Split Rock and go fishing for flounder. I wouldn't get any. I just wouldn't get any. And we don't get the poppers unless maybe, if we're lucky, it's a holiday hunt. And you can always tell along the Passamaquoddy Bay, you can see to Canada and St. Andrews, because the Peskotomuhkati People used to canoe back and forth and trade all over. The tribes that lived along the St.Croix and the Passamaquoddy Bay and right into the New Brunswick. And they used to paddle back and forth and trade for flour and sugar. I remember that. It wasn't a whole lot because by that time things were changing. But when I was a smaller child, it happened a lot. But as I grew, I could see the change in the environment of the water. The fish was less. And that supplemented the diet of us Peskotomuhkati that lived here. And then we would have the Peskotomuhkati from Canada and Maliseet. We would have a big feast on community days or gathering days when they would come to visit in the summertime. And there was so much joy, and the celebrations always involved food. That was so important. And I don't believe today that we could survive if we lived the way we used to when the fish and game were plentiful because of the pollution. And it's a sad situation because we, as indigenous people, were sustained from the river to present day. That's how we're here. If it wasn't for that, I don't believe indigenous people would have survived along the bay. And when the fish was plentiful, you'd see the giakwag, the birds, gathering, and they would fly in a group where the fish was plentiful. And so the people knew where to go fishing. And then you'd see the whales. You'd see the whales coming because they were following the fish. And the ecosystem was so healthy. We had all kinds of fish, which supplemented our diet with the hunting, the meat we got from hunting, and picking berries. So we were able to sustain ourselves culturally because all living things live symbiotically. So creation can keep on going. That's how Mother Nature is. And when we go against Mother Nature, the consequence is pollution and less fish, less berries, less wildlife. And I think man is going to go into extinction pretty soon because we need to take care of everything in life that sustains us. And that's the water and the land. If that goes, we'll be no more. And that is a scary feeling, let me tell you. And I've seen the changes as I was growing up. I could see the changes. And I couldn't understand where all the scientists and knowledgeable people who know about the environment and its effects and pollution, how we got this far. And I'm almost 80, and I don't understand the rhyme or reason. It's obvious. People are now talking about climate change. How do we sustain ourselves as human beings from the river? I used to swim in that river. I learned to swim at the river. And it was nice to get clams and shellfish, and it was a way of life for us growing up. And it was healthy. It was a healthy way to grow up, to live with nature. And all the tribal people, all the indigenous people in this area used to gather, fish, hunt, and come together. That's how we survived culturally as a people. And I was very surprised as a child when, I was about 12. And one of the tribal members took us to Canada to dance, because we used to dance regularly, the traditional dances, which I love. And when I got to Canada, when we all got to Canada, we went to this house to be fed. And I could not believe, and I was about 12 in the 8th grade, and they were speaking the Peskotomuhkati language. I was in awe. The people, they must be part of our people. Before the boundary waters, when we used to travel and fish and trade and be with family, and they were speaking what they call Maliseet. And we were speaking Passamaquoddy, but it was the same language. How could that be? In wonderment, because we had oral history, but we were not taught in school about the environment and how it sustained us to be here and talk about it and be with relatives. And that's where we got our spirituality. It was living with nature symbiotically. And they were speaking the same language that I knew, that I grew up with. My first language is the Peskotomuhkati language, Passamaquoddy. And over there in Canada, they call it maliseet, but it's the same language, a little different dialect because of the area. We had the American influence, and they had the Gumnuki or Canadian influence. So it's very sad to talk about it and to realize what happened and how we were all together as a family and living a healthy life with what the earth had to offer. But we have to respect and acknowledge how important it is to respect what feeds us. And I don't believe we're doing that today. And it's very harmful, not just to the indigenous people, but to everybody.